Imagine waking up tomorrow and your house is suddenly worth $50,000 more. Great news, until you realize every other house also went up $50,000. So, did you actually get richer, or did your dream just move $50,000 farther away? Because that's exactly what millions of Americans have experienced. Every year, people save longer, work harder, finally build a down payment, and somehow, the finish line keeps moving. The houses didn't suddenly become bigger. They didn't suddenly become better. So why did buying one become so much harder? If millions of people can't afford houses anymore, why do prices keep going up? Who's actually buying them? At first, the answer seemed obvious. Rich people, more money, higher offers, you lose, simple. Until something didn't make sense. Rich people existed before, so why did housing become a crisis, almost everywhere, at almost the same time? Texas, Florida, Arizona, California, different states, same story. The numbers pointed to one conclusion. Rich people were part of the story, but they weren't the whole story. There simply weren't enough of them. So we followed the money, and one name kept appearing: Wall Street. After the 2008 financial crisis, millions of homes sat empty. Banks wanted them gone. Most families couldn't afford them. Wall Street could. Investment firms saw something everyone else missed: cheap houses. Not homes, assets. One company, Blackstone, started buying single-family homes, street after street, neighborhood after neighborhood. Within about a year, it had bought roughly 24,000 houses. Think about that. You're trying to buy one. They're buying thousands. You wait weeks for a mortgage. They show up with cash. Suddenly, it didn't feel like families competing against families anymore. It felt like families competing against corporations. Headlines started asking, "Is Wall Street buying America?" Honestly, it looked like we'd found the answer. But then, the numbers created another mystery. Even companies buying thousands of homes still owned only a small share of all houses in America. In some cities, they mattered a lot. Across the whole country, they weren't big enough to explain what happened, which meant we still hadn't found the real answer. So we went back to the moment everything changed, 2008. Most people remember it as the year banks collapsed, families lost their homes, millions lost their jobs. But that wasn't the biggest change. The biggest change came after the crash. The economy had stopped moving. Businesses weren't borrowing. People weren't spending. So the Federal Reserve made borrowing cheaper. Interest rates fell, lower and lower. At first, it worked. Businesses invested again. People started buying again. The economy slowly recovered. But money follows one simple rule. It goes where it can grow. So when borrowing became cheap, more people could suddenly afford houses. Families, investors, companies, everyone entered the same market. The houses didn't change, the money did, and that changed everything. Families could borrow more, investors could borrow more, companies could borrow more. Suddenly, more money was chasing houses than ever before. It looked like a recovery, but it created a new problem. Money could create millions of new buyers. It couldn't create millions of new houses. Imagine a town with 10 houses, 10 families. Everyone has a chance. Now interest rates fall. More families can suddenly afford to buy. Investors enter the market. People stop waiting. Now, 30 families want those same 10 houses. The houses didn't disappear. The buyers multiplied. What happens next? People start bidding against each other. Prices climb, faster and faster. Homes that once sat on the market for weeks started selling in days, sometimes in hours. So why didn't builders just build more? Because houses aren't built overnight. Land has to be bought, projects approved, workers hired. Years can pass before a family gets the keys. But buyers kept arriving, faster than new homes could be built. For years, America built fewer homes than many growing communities needed. That shortage kept growing, quietly, until almost everyone could feel it. Prices climbed, rents climbed. First-time buyers fell further behind. It finally looked like we'd solved the mystery, except one question still remained. If houses were becoming harder to buy, why did people keep treating them like investments? Because that's where the story changes. It turned out we'd blamed the wrong things. Rich people mattered. Wall Street mattered. Cheap money mattered. The housing shortage mattered. But none of them was the real story. The real story was what a house became. Think about your grandparents buying a house. They probably asked, is it close to work? Are the schools good? Can we raise a family here? Today, people still ask those questions, but another one quietly joined the list. How much will it be worth in 5 years? One house, 2 different buyers. A family looked at it and saw a home. An investor looked at the same house and saw a return. Same house, completely different reasons to buy it. Then, prices started rising. People became afraid of waiting. If I don't buy today, I'll never afford one. That fear created more buyers. More buyers pushed prices even higher. Higher prices convinced even more people to buy. The cycle fed itself, again and again. Without anyone planning it, houses slowly became something more than places to live. They became places to store wealth. And once that happened, buying your first home wasn't just competing against another family. So, if nobody can afford houses, who's buying them? The answer isn't one billionaire. It isn't Wall Street. It isn't low interest rates. It isn't even the housing shortage. It's all of them, working together. Rich people added demand. Wall Street added demand. Cheap money added demand. Too few homes kept everyone fighting over the same supply. None of those things could create today's market alone. Together, it stopped being just a place to live. It became a financial asset. And once that happened, you were competing against investors, companies, retirement funds, which brings us back to the beginning. Imagine waking up tomorrow and your house is suddenly worth $50,000 more. Great news, until every other house also goes up $50,000. Did you actually get richer? Not really, because if the house you want next also became $50,000 more expensive, you're standing in exactly the same place. That's the illusion. Higher house prices make homeowners feel richer, while making it harder for the next family to become homeowners. The house never changed, the game did. And once the game changed, working hard, saving money, doing everything you were told was no longer enough, because you weren't just buying a home anymore, you were buying into a financial system. And until that system changes, the finish line may keep moving, just out. The biggest change wasn't the house. It was what people believed a house was for. And that's the part we miss. The price of a house isn't just the price of a house anymore. It depends on who wants it, who can finance it, who can buy 10 of them at once, and who gets pushed out when everyone starts bidding. The house stayed the same, but the game around it changed. If you don't want me stealing your girl, like this video and subscribe to my channel. You've been warned.